co-op with, so I didn't get the full extent of enjoyment that I perhaps could have got. All in all, Assassin's Creed Unity was a very flawed experience with plenty of potential that just didn't quite make it. On top of all of that, the hype for Unity was unhealthily large for any game, so there really is no surprise that I've ranked it how I have. Moving on, we have Assassin's Creed Rogue. A lot of people would call this game a poor man's Black Flag, and I can 100% get that. The game is very similar to Black Flag and nowhere near as good. But Assassin's Creed Rogue did do one thing no other game in the franchise has really done, and it did it somewhat well. It showed the Templars' perspective, and it's a pretty decent story to follow. Shade Effects from the Assassins becomes a Templar and starts doing assassin-esque work for the Templars. I rather enjoyed what we got. The story lasted about 6 hours and was ultimately a lot shorter than I would have liked, and outside of the story, the open world was very mundane, hardly anything to do. There isn't a shallow side quest that almost feels randomised due to its low quality, or one of the hundreds if not thousands of pointless collectibles dotted around the open world. This stuff brought the game down massively, and ultimately it was very forgettable. It was so forgettable that most people spell its name wrong. But all Rogue was intended to do was to soften that switch from the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, so there were no expectations for this game, so it really didn't leave a sting. And for what it was, I rather enjoyed it. Moving on to our number 6 spot, we have got Assassin's Creed 1. Ah yes, the game that kicked it all off. The first Assassin's Creed game, it goes without saying that it's incredibly nostalgic to play. Even now, I absolutely love going back every now and then and playing it. It kicked the franchise off well, as seen by the fact that it was good enough to warrant a sequel and games afterwards. And for that, I'll always love Assassin's Creed 1. I love the episodic structure to hunting down individual targets through investigations, which gave off a small sense of mystery that I loved. However, Assassin's Creed 1's biggest issues were the fact that despite being such a good game, there are other games due to technology and such in the franchise that are just better, and the fact that the game did get very repetitive. All that being said, I'll always cherish Assassin's Creed 1 as the game that started all of this, so it'll always have a place in my heart. Moving on, we have got Assassin's Creed Revelations. Now, I've always seen the quality of the Ezio trilogy as a steady walk down a hill. Revelations was the weakest of the Ezio games for me, but by no means was it bad. Revelations had an incredible main storyline in which we finish off Ezio's story, which was executed beautifully. Beyond this incredible main story, Revelations had its fair share of jaw-dropping set pieces, and the game's soundtrack was utterly gorgeous. However, beyond all that, the thing that made Revelations the weakest of the Ezio trilogy was its open world. Now, Assassin's Creed at the time never had the most compelling of open worlds going, but Revelations' open world was almost immediately quite boring and lacking in variety. This brought the game down a fair bit for me, but all in all, Revelations was a damn good game. Moving into number 4, we have got Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Black Flag was an amazing game. It meshed Assassin's Creed with the pirate stuff in the best way possible, even if it doesn't feel as Assassin's Creed focused as it perhaps could have been anymore, and it might not have been so good. The game shows the progression of Edward Kenway from selfish pirate to wise assassin out to do the right thing as opposed to get rich. On top of this, the naval combat really made this game. I can get a lot of enjoyment from just firing up the game and plundering ships for the hell of it, or collecting resources if I need them. The game's open world does have a fair few pointless collectibles though. That is one thing that might be an issue, but it doesn't try to use them as a substitute for fun content nearly as much as Rogue did. There are side quest lines to follow in which Edward helps out various assassins in their missions across the Caribbean. These are quite fun for sure. The main issue with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag probably is that most of its land missions consisted of tailing, which is annoying the first time, let alone the 15th. Beyond this though, Black Flag is a really good game, so I definitely recommend this game to anybody who hasn't played it. In our number 3 spot, we've got Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. That rhymed and now I feel really weird. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was a really good game. It came straight after Assassin's Creed 2 and continued the story of Ezio, a character most fans at the time loved. The game shows Ezio mature into his role as a master assassin and I have no idea where that came from. As I was, the game shows Ezio mature into his role as master assassin and mentor as he builds up the Brotherhood in the city of Rome and rise up against the Borgia occupation. The story isn't too long and can be done in about 8 hours if you really put your back into it. Beyond this, There are side missions in which you can help people across Rome by assassinating certain people. There are also side missions in which you can destroy various inventions made by Leonardo da Vinci for Borgia. Beyond this, the Romulus tombs are also fun little set pieces that are worth doing. Then there's the recruit system, where you can recruit oppressed citizens across Rome into the Brotherhood. You can call on them to help you in battle, and you can send them on contracts across Europe. But if you're not careful, these assassins can die, and as a result, you'll have to find a new recruit and train them up as a replacement. And the more areas you liberate in Rome, the more recruits you can have. I really think this system was handled quite well, and I really enjoyed it. All in all, I really liked Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. It was the perfect continuation to Ezio's story. In our number 2 spot, we have Assassin's Creed Origins, the latest entry to the franchise. A game that actually exceeded my expectations, to be fair, considering that this was after Unity and Syndicate. My expectations did have a bit of skepticism to them, so I was pleasantly surprised by Assassin's Creed Origins. This game is one hell of a comeback, considering the game's taking a year off following the backlash from Unity and Syndicate. Origins reworked the base game entirely, focusing on improving the overall quality of the game, and as a result we got a beautiful open world filled with deep, compelling side quests, many locations filled with loot worthy of finding, side activities such as the arena or the hippodrome, a good main story to top it all off, and a really nice soundtrack. The game does stray quite far from what we know as Assassin's Creed, and I know it's a lot of people taking issue with that, but the way I see it, Assassin's Creed had to innovate or die, so to me, if anything, this is a good thing. Either way, Assassin's Creed Origins was a huge leap in the right direction for the franchise after the fatigue suffered from Unity and Syndicate, despite there still being flaws present, such as the repetitive objective of carrying people out of restricted areas. The game is so close to the top spot on this list, because I feel as if this is a breath of fresh air and a step in the right direction, and sort of like the beginning of a new era of Assassin's Creed games. I honestly really loved Assassin's Creed Origins, and I'm very excited to see Bayek's story continued in the DLCs. And of course, still atop the throne we have Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed Origins and Brotherhood might have come close, but Assassin's Creed 2 is still the best Assassin's Creed game in my opinion. Assassin's Creed 2's story was an incredible journey in which we see Ezio's story, from a young man, watching his family die, along his revenge path to the point where he becomes an assassin, and then a little bit beyond as well. There is plenty of character development and interesting side characters such as Leonardo da Vinci, Bartolomeo, Niccolo Machiavelli, and etc. The soundtrack is both fitting for the setting and the game itself. The open world, gameplay and graphics are fairly dated for modern standards, but beyond that the game was amazing, especially the first time around. The feels have become embedded in nostalgia, which has kept it at the top of my list even today. And unless an Assassin's Creed